Yeah.
He took it down.
He sure did.
I seen it in her eyes.
You just saw it in her.
I'm looking forward to meeting Eminem, actually.
You want to meet Eminem?
Yeah, I want to meet Eminem. I think he's cute.
Like, no, you didn't just say that, you little. And then she said, yeah, and you know, doesn't he have a song about his baby's mother?
Some rappers shoot their shot and keep it moving. Others turn a crush into a career-long obsession. And one of them wrote a 3-page apology letter from prison at 4:30 in the morning. Let's rank them from charming to completely unhinged. Royce Da 5'9" set the gold standard for how to shoot your shot with zero embarrassment. At the 2011 BET Hip Hop Awards Shady 2.0 cypher, Royce was rapping in front of every rapper that mattered. And in the middle of his verse, he dropped 2 words, "Hi, Rihanna." That was it. Followed by a quick line saying if she told him she loved his music again, they'd go together. Then a casual "Bye, Rihanna," and he kept rapping like nothing happened. Twitter caught fire. The phrase trended for nearly a full day. And then Rihanna herself replied from her account. Royce later explained that he'd actually run into her at a UK festival, and she had come up to him saying she loved his music. The cypher line was him reaching back to acknowledge that moment on the biggest hip-hop stage possible. 2 words, national stage. Pop star reply, zero cringe. That's the blueprint. Yo Gotti went a step further and turned his crush into a chart-topping single. In late 2015, he dropped down in the DM, and industry insiders quickly figured out the song was aimed directly at Angela Simmons, daughter of Rev Run from Run DMC. The song wasn't subtle, it was a full commercial single dressed up as a love letter delivered to millions of listeners. The wild part? It worked. Angela noticed. They started dating. It was confirmed. It was real. There's even a moment from an interview where Angela actually called him mid-conversation, and you can see the chemistry between them in real time. The relationship eventually ended. She said the love was real, but they weren't aligned. But Gotti pulled off something most rappers only dream about. He wrote his crush a hit song, and the crush said yes. Megan Thee Stallion proved women can shoot their shot just as smoothly. In October 2020, during one of her viral Megan Monday freestyles, she dropped a breezy bar about not doing titles. But if she did date, it would be Michael. Just Michael. No last name. The internet had to do the detective work. Most fans landed on Michael B. Jordan, and the evidence backed it up. They were both Coach ambassadors. They had been spotted at New York Fashion Week. After the Tory Lanez shooting incident, Michael B. Jordan publicly tweeted his support and sent her flowers, which she posted on her Instagram story calling him Waterhead, a nickname that suggests they actually knew each other beyond surface level. What made Megan's shot different from most on this list was the energy. No desperation, no obsession. Just a confident woman using her platform to publicly state her preference and letting the world figure out the rest. Now things start getting messy. Meek Mill had been openly thirsting over Nicki Minaj since 2010, tweeting at her, posting freestyles about her, putting her name in bars, with zero filter. Pure public admiration for 4 straight years. When Nicki became available in 2014, he finally got his shot. They dated, she put him on her album The Pink Print, and he called her his fiancée in interviews. In his own words, he'd been speaking it into existence for years, and it came true. Then January 2017 hit. Nicki confirmed on Twitter that it was over, and what followed was one of the messiest post-breakup feuds hip-hop had seen in years. Cryptic Instagram shade, subtweets, a 2020 verbal altercation in West Hollywood that got caught on camera, and mutual accusations that went far beyond the usual celebrity split. A man who had publicly thirsted for 4 years, dated her for 2.5, and then couldn't let go cleanly for years after. Youngboy never broke again, took boldness to a completely different level. In October 2020, he dropped a freestyle over Jay-Z's story of OJ Beat and used it to publicly declare that he wanted to have a baby with Regina Carter, Lil Wayne's daughter. He even specified he was serious on the bar itself, which made it impossible to write off his wordplay. YFN Lucci, who had history with Regina, clapped back publicly. The internet went wild. And Youngboy didn't apologize, clarify, or backpedal. He left the bar sitting in the freestyle for all of hip-hop to dissect. A public, specific, unmistakable shot at a rap legend's daughter, with her ex reacting in real time. Whether it was strategy or just confidence pushed to its limit, nobody in the game would have done it quite like that. Future might win the award for longest-running inability to move on. He and Ciara were the couple in 2013. Engaged in Times Square, a baby on the way, everything looking permanent. By 2014, it was over. Ciara accused him of cheating. Future denied it and said they just grew apart, and then he made the music. Tracks like Throwaway and Codeine, Crazy Off the Monster mixtape became coded breakup anthems. The toxic persona we associate with Future today was born directly from that heartbreak. But then Ciara moved on and married NFL quarterback Russell Wilson in 2016 and built a beautiful family. Future should have moved on too, he didn't. In July 2023, nearly a decade later, he hopped on a track with Quavo and threw a direct shot at Russell Wilson, a man who had nothing to do with their relationship and simply happened to marry his ex. 7 years of fixation before they even met, then a relationship, then a breakup, then close to a decade of public shade pointed at her husband. Ciara kept winning. Future kept rapping. Now we get into the genuinely heavy ones. Tupac and Madonna were dating quietly in the mid-90s. The relationship was intense and real, confirmed by Madonna herself on Howard Stern years later. E40 had stories about it. The energy between them was undeniable, but the proof of how deep Tupac's feelings ran came in January 1995 when he was locked up at Clinton Correctional Facility. At 4:30 in the morning, he sat down and wrote Madonna a 3-page handwritten letter. He apologized for ending the relationship. He wrote about how the effects of racism made it difficult for a young black man to properly show affection for an older white woman. He warned her about dangerous people in her circle. He asked her to come visit him in prison so they could talk face to face. That letter eventually ended up at auction. Madonna tried to block the sale but failed. It sold for a high 6-figure sum. That wasn't a casual breakup note. That was a man emotionally drowning in a relationship he couldn't let go of, writing a dissertation from a prison cell at the crack of dawn to a woman the entire world knew. Kanye West fell for Kim Kardashian before Kim Kardashian was Kim Kardashian. He saw a photo of her standing next to Paris Hilton in the early 2000s when she was still a stylist working for Brandy, and by his own account, he decided right then that he wanted to marry her. Then he waited. Through Reggie Bush, through Chris Humphrey, through every relationship Kim went through, Kanye stayed close as a friend and kept his eyes on the prize. He even wrote a poem for her while she was still married to someone else. That poem became the lyrics to Lost in the World from My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. When he finally got his chance in 2012, he proposed at a baseball field on her birthday with a full orchestra and a 15-carat ring. He turned a decade of patience into a global media empire. But here's what happens when admiration becomes obsession. By 2025, Kanye was on a live stream saying he wished he'd had children with Paris Hilton instead because of the family money. The man who pined for nearly 10 years was rewriting history out loud. That's the line between love and fixation, and he crossed it on camera. Nobody crossed more lines than Eminem, and he crossed them repeatedly over 18 years. In 1999, Christina Aguilera was 18 and said in an interview that she had a crush on Eminem and thought he was cute. He felt the same way after the MTV Europe Music Awards. It was mutual and sweet. Then early 2000, Christina mentioned on an MTV special that some of Eminem's lyrics were disturbing. She was a teenager raising a concern about domestic violence in his music. Eminem took it personally. On The Real Slim Shady, he called her a name on wax, accused her of giving him an STD, and turned her into a blow-up doll in the music video. He followed that with a track where he rapped about dragging her by the hair. Then came an animated web series episode mocking her. He brought her name up again as recently as 2018. A teenage girl said she liked him, raised a concern about violent lyrics, and he fired back at her on record for nearly 2 decades. Christina's verdict when asked about it years later on Watch What Happens Live was simple. That's real thirsty. And finally, the most wholesome entry on this entire list. 50 Cent has been publicly declaring his crush on Dame Helen Mirren for over a decade. On Conan, Colbert, Fallon, every late-night couch. He calls her sexy forever, jokes about being respectfully patient, and has committed to the bit so consistently that Helen Mirren has had to address it in her own interviews. In a list full of diss tracks, prison letters, and decades of unresolved feelings, 50 Cent shooting his shot at a legendary British actress with charm and consistency decade after decade might actually be the most disciplined thing on this entire list. Drop a comment. Who on this list went too far and who actually did it right? And subscribe for more breakdowns like this one.